This is your application specialist, Adam Best at FREY Municipal Software. Today, I'll be demonstrating some great tips and tricks for the BUCS accounting system release 21. This will be a wonderful opportunity for you to explore and learn how to get more value from your BUCS accounting system. I have 12 items to share with you in today's demonstration. So let's get started. For the first tip and trick, we're going to talk about encumbrances. If you have encumbrance maintenance and requisition controls in BUCS 21, you'll be able to go in here and reduce encumbrances. You need this reduce button to be available to do that. So once you're logged in, if you have to have your security options changed, like in here, I'm going to change my security options for requisition controls. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. I'm going to go to File, Utilities, Security, and I'm going to go in here, and there's the login I'm at. I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to enable Reduce button in encumbrance maintenance for requisition controls. I'm going to press the OK button. I'm going to press here. So now when I go into encumbrance maintenance, I could pick any of these encumbrances. I can click on this Reduce button, and let's say here that we wanted to reduce this encumbrance. Maybe say that we spent $200 on it. So now instead of that being that total, we're going to reduce it by $200. And now we just have to go in here and take the amounts out to equal that $200 for our requisition control here. Let me say OK, and then see, now I can say OK, and I'm going to continue, and now I've reduced that encumbrance by that amount. For the second tip and trick, I'm going to go to paid invoice change. This will allow me to change an image on paid invoices, and I can even change multiple paid invoices to having the same image if I wanted to. So I can go in here, and I'm going to go to Payables, Paid Invoices, Change Image. If I go in here, I can select any of the information I wish to change by checking account, PO number, range number, any kind of vendor or date paid information. But in this case, I'm just going to press the OK button. I'm going to go in here, up here at the top. I can go in here and I can, if I have my scanner set up, I could scan something in, or I could just go here to select an image to put on there. So for example, I'm just going to use this this bill here, and I'm just going to double click on it, and now I have this image saved here, and every paid invoice I go into and select will have that image saved to it. So like here, if I go in here and then I say the OK button, and then we cancel out, I go to that vendor that has that, and we go in here, we go to their paid invoice, and then once I pull up their paid invoice and I click on view, I can see that image of that bill I put on there. For the third tip and trick, I'm going to go into expense reports. There's a new option in expense reports to exclude accounts with no year-to-date encumbrance balance. So I go in here and I go to the expense report, then there's exclude accounts with no year-to-date encumbrance balance. When this is selected, it'll exclude those that have the encumbrance balance. But I'm going to go ahead and have it unselected the first time, just so I can show you how this report looks. So if I go in here and I pick this report, and I'm going to go ahead and preview it, we can see here that's about 4 pages long, so it's not too long here. But then the column it's looking at is this encumbrance year-to-date amounts. So let's go ahead and let's close that. Now if I go ahead and open this back up and I select this exclude accounts with no year-to-date encumbrance balance, and then we pick that report, then we pull this up, we can see here that this is a lot smaller, and it only has those that have encumbrance year-to-date amounts. For the fourth tip and trick, we're going to go into budget planning, budget amendment. When a budget amendment transfers, a section screen is now for a section account type, there's an account range. So if we go in here and we go to General Ledger dash budget planning dash budget amendment, in here we have a from and to account. Now this from and to account, we could go in here and search, and we could enter in the information that we're looking for this way, or this field accepts the wildcard characters. In the BUCS system, the wildcard character is the @ sign. So we could put 2 @ signs in there to where it'll look for any fund information. You can see here, instead of 01, I put 2 @ signs. And then in the example here, if I wanted to only see accounts that ended with 01, then I would put 4 more @ signs and then .01. And the bottom, I'd put the same information in here. So in that way, it's going to show me all funds and all accounts that end with 01. Or I could even search and do a from and to if I want to see just a certain account range. But then I can go in here and press the OK button, and you can see here that I see all accounts that end with a 01. And I could go in here and then make any type of, any kind of budget amendments that I'd want to with it. On the fifth tip and trick, we look at vendors for bulk inactivation. If we go down here to payables, dash vendor maintenance, the bulk inactivation button is not new, but we did add a new feature to it. Before, you'd have to put the number of days, and this would require the user to enter the number of days with activity to determine which vendors to list. Any vendor that matched this criteria would be potentially marked as inactive. The new option here, we pick the vendors had no activity before, and we have a date field in here. You can click on here and easily click on the day that you would like to see from that date back and have no vendor activity, or the vendor has no activity. The user now enters this date, displaying only vendors that haven't had any activity since that enter date. This will make the option easier to use by selecting a date versus counting down the days since they've had no activity. For the sixth tip and trick, we're going to talk about 1099 print. Some printers physically be printing one line below than other printers. When you're printing reports, this is barely noticeable. However, when printing on a pre-printed 1099 form, this will cause the print too low and it'll get all over your form. To address this option, we've gone in and added an option in System Controls. To get there, we go to General Ledger, dash System Controls. You click on the Edit button, and you go to the AP tab. In the AP tab, you click on 1099 information. And in here, we have an option that we can move 1099 print up one line right here. So if it's printing too low, we can move it up one line. And if this is selected and it's printing too high, maybe we need to unselect it so then it'll print down one line. So then that way, this will allow for the adjustment when printing 1099s and the printer is higher or lower than what it should be. For the seventh tip and trick, we're going to talk about journal entries. When you go into a journal entry here by going to General Ledger and Posting Entry, and you press the OK button, we're going to put in today's date, and I'm going to give this a description down here. But when you're down here in a journal entry, with a previous TTPP command, you can press D for debit and C for credit. But now if you're a keyboard person, you can press 1 for debit, or you can press 2 for credit. So then that way you can stay just on the keypad, and you'll be able to enter in your debits and credits that way. For the 8th tip and trick, we're going to look at the fund report. If we go into fund report here, there's this new line, suppress month to date, year to date, change column on reports. And if we go in here, I'm going to go ahead and show you what the report looks like with that on there. So we can say month to date, year to date changes. And then now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to suppress the month to date, year to date changes. And see that column's gone. That's we added this option so the last column was being confused with any balances. So then we can remove that. But that's not only in here under fund report, but also it's in the future period fund report. That we can go in here and we have the same option in here. And then we also have it in here under preferences. And if we go into preferences and we go down here to the reports, that we can see here under reports, and then we go to fund report, we can have that checked as an option to automatically have that suppress the month to date and year to date column. For the 9th tip and trick, we're going to go into graphical analysis, fund analysis. In BUCS 21, you can exclude specific funds from the fund account analysis, such as a bond or grant fund. So we can go in here to General Ledger, dash Fund Control, and let's say this grant fund here we want to exclude. We can click on the Edit button, and we have this Exclude from Fund Analysis. And we press the OK button, and then we close out of here. Where that's at is under General Ledger, dash Graphic Analysis, dash, and then there's this Fund Analysis. And we can see in here that Fund 5 is no longer in there with that grant fund. Now if I close this, and to show you the opposite of it, if I go in here and I press the Edit button, and let's uncheck that Exclude from Fund Analysis, I'm going to press the OK button. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. Now I'm going to go ahead and run that graphic analysis again, the fund account analysis, and now you can see Fund 5 is in there. So we can include or exclude funds as needed for reports like this. For the 10th tip and trick, we're going to go into default descriptions. A default description can be set up for each vendor and vendor maintenance. So if we go down here and we go to payables dash vendor maintenance, and we can go into any of these vendors here, you can see that there's a default description here. This description will load to that vendor when adding an encumbrance, standard encumbrance invoice, or standard invoice. The default description is more for vendors who have very similar activity with each transaction. Please note that the default description can be overwritten when posting a new transaction that is not related to the default text. So let's show an example here. I'm in here with this vendor, and I'm going to type in, this is the default description, and I have that saved in here, and I'm going to press OK. And what that's saying is everywhere that there is an invoice, an encumbrance, a standard encumbrance, let's just go into invoices, and then we're going to add. And if we add our vendor that I put that default description on, that it's going to put it in there, and see it's filling out right here as soon as I clicked off of that vendor. And I can go in here and I could change this to to hardware or something. And that's the same kind of thing for if we go into encumbrances here and we say add, and then we add to that. I can double click on it, and then when I'm pressing the enter button or continuing down, that default description always gets filled out there. For the 11th tip and trick, we're going to go into account favorites. So in here, account favorites can now be assigned to vendors. These favorites can be used in invoice and encumbrance processing. So it's kind of similar to number 10. But we're going to go in here to vendor maintenance. We can even use the same vendor, but now there's the remit address account favorites. If we go down here on the bottom is account favorites. So we can go in here and we can add, if we wanted to add expense items, this could be a little different than their default one. We could say, we can go in here and maybe the default is set up as repairs and maintenance, but we can also set up, consultation fees in here, or, we could add other things in here and make it be part of the account favorites that if we wanted to pick between, several different options in here. If we wanted to maybe, select a couple of different options in here, just for examples in here, and then we press the OK button. And then what that means is we go into invoice maintenance here. We say add. We add that person. Now when we go down here to this, their default is set up here. But then we can click on the star here and we can see the other account favorites. And we can see the examples in here. We can cancel out of here and then go into encumbrance maintenance and see the same thing. If we go in here and add, and then we add that vendor, we can go down here, the default set here, but then we can go into and click on the blue star and we can pick from any of the other options in here. And then that's just some examples of the account favorites. For the 12th and final tip and trick, we're going to go and check reconciliation. There's now the ability to have a default cleared date. When that option is selected, it will automatically default to today. Where we can go and change this option in here. So we cancel out of here. We go to General Ledger, System Controls. We click on the Edit button here, and we go to the AP tab. Now down here, there's default clear date and the check reconciliation box. And that's unselected, and then we press the OK button. Now we can go back to check reconciliation right here under payables. And then now there's no default clear date. So if you're constantly going in here clearing things and changing the clear date, then we can unselect that box and there's no longer a default clear date in there. This concludes the BUCS Accounting System Release 21 Tips and Tricks presentation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and picked up on many items that will enhance your daily BUCS experience. If you have any questions over the material covered in this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact FREY at 1-800-659-3739. I repeat, that number is 1-800-659-3739. This is your support technician, Adam Best, and we'll be happy to assist you. Thank you and have a good day.